watch?
I do. It looks like I had, some drool or something on it. I don't exactly know what, but let's get this moving.
What is this one?
This one, they're running out of the ones I like. This one is Ultra Fiesta Mango.
Oh, that's got to be good for you. Ultra Fiesta Mango. That's never seen a fruit in its life.
So you've been on a music bender lately, but the creation of music, and that's where we're going to start. Tell us about that.
I'm just playing with Suno. I'm doing a lot of stuff around a game at the moment, which gives me a chance to play with lots of different things. And what I think is this whole democratization of creativity allows you to engage with things that would otherwise have quite long build-ups, long lead times to be able to produce anything that you'd be vaguely satisfied with. So it gets you to a point where you can actually start getting some encouraging results. And the music side of things, it's the same as everything. It's breaking it down into component parts, and it's looking at what are the influences you're trying to bring in, what are the directions of the outputs you're trying to get, and structuring it in the same way as you build a computer program. But you're not actually necessarily writing the notes yourself or playing the notes yourself.
So you're telling it, are you breaking down chorus versus chorus? Yeah. Or are you breaking it down? Okay, not because you sent stuff, I guess it was last night. For me, I got it this morning. Since I still go to sleep early. And by the way, we're continuing this conversation from last week where you are building some type of space game with asteroids, which we talked about all last week. But we're going to come back to that with your crew of 50 people that you've now created. And I didn't realize, but because I didn't read the chat, I'm sorry about this, but the music is for the game.
Yes, for the game.
See, I thought it was just like you were just interested in, I'm going to make music now, but you're making music for the game.
This is my sort of core project at the moment, because like I say, it lets me play with lots of different things. It's letting me play with 3D modeling up to a point. I've decided to outsource that. It's allowed me to play with sort of game style, game structure, but also things like character building and model training through things like safe tensors and LoRA models. There's things like the music side of things as well. There's scripting. And all of it's got little custom tools behind it. So I build all these custom tools because you don't. There's one of the benefits of and curses of not having done this before. You don't know what's out there, so you end up building what you need. I was
going to ask, how do you figure out these things? Do you
figure
just
out
ask?
what you want? Yeah, okay. Because we've done the sort of digital product stuff for a very long time. So I kind of know how these things are put together from a sort of abstract perspective. So I work out what I want, I build the tool to deliver it, and then in a stupid way, I then go and look at what else is out there after I built something and say, okay, that I could have used that. And then I look at what that does and what I've built, and then I actually quite like mine, but I'll take some things from it to then improve it. So you come at it in a very unique way. So the tools I've built are very peculiar to me, and they're very specific to what I want and what I'm trying to do at the moment, which is back to our whole thing of building personal tools. So not building software for anybody else necessarily, but building them for me.
And this is the conversation from a few weeks ago, which was the building on your side versus the thinking on my side. And in the last week, I've been working on this prompt to help give me provocations for different clients that we work with. And normally what I do when we work with clients is, let's say we're releasing a V1 or a V2 of a product.
Yep.
When we start to do that, we start to work on that, I'm usually thinking, okay, what am I looking at for V3, V4?
Yeah.
Right. So what is the sort of follow along, the sequels? That's what I was looking for. The sequels going to be to this. And I had never thought to myself, how do I actually think of where this is going? And it's been a lot more difficult than I thought to try to explain in a prompt that is repeatable how I think.
So productizing your thinking.
Yes. And it's like, what do I weight? Why do I weight those things? Okay, that changes based on the client, but how do I turn that into a repeatable algorithmic prompt? And this has been quite difficult, and I'm now on V22 of this prompt. And every time I sort of do a little bit more corrections, but it's getting to the point now that it will give me output, and I'm thinking, okay, I wouldn't have thought about this.
Yeah.
Like, this is actually pretty interesting. The challenge, or now what I'm left with, as we talk about building personal software, this prompt is personal to my thinking.
Mm-hmm.
When I go out and I build a deck to present to somebody, I'm generally thinking, how are they going to receive this information? So I can build it in a way that makes sense for them and the context they sit in. I'm about to have the first time that I'm going to be sending a lot of these documents out to different people on our team, because this week, we're going to do a workshop or a planning session for all of Q3 and Q4 for all the different clients in our portfolio. And I'm going to run this for the office. And I'm putting together now documents for each individual client to say, what are the provocations?
Yeah.
And this will be the first real test of me taking something that's very personal and trying to send it out to all the different client partners and ask, does this make sense?
Yeah, does it land?
Would you take it to a client? And I have tied the provocations to our what we call go-to-market solutions, or what we go and present to clients to sell. So I've tied all these things together. And if this works, maybe I can take a 2-week vacation, which we know I never will. But I'm just very excited to see, from exactly what you said, can I take something personal and make it work for a group or a company?
Yeah, I mean, the stuff you're doing is really interesting. I a go-to-market strategy thing that I've been putting together for our guys around how are we actually taking our capability and evolving it as we start to see these new capabilities, this new technology. How do we lift quite a large distributed team to be able to deliver with them and actually add value on top of it? So I have a go-to-market strategy across different verticals, across different segments that has been put together. Kind of similar to how you describe, is that the output is something I then share with our client partners, with our unit leads, and I've started sharing it. And one of the things I found is that it's great for me. It's exactly tailored to my brain, but the feedback they came back was some of them was I was looking for this, I was looking for that. I'm like, okay, I can do that, and I tweak it and I change it, and it's getting noticeably better as a result. So that feedback loop is so important. And what I've got now is I ditched PowerPoint. And went straight to HTML for it, because I realized when I started with big Word documents that were very thought out, because I have multiple layers of agents pulling this stuff together, and it came up with some quite punchy Word documents, but no one's going to read them. So I'm like, okay, I'll do a PowerPoint. I put a PowerPoint together, which is nice and structured. I think it's about 14 slides. And I got to the end and went, this is 2026. People have the attention span of a gnat. They're not going to read that either. I need about 2 slides I can put in front of people to sell the story about this is what the opportunity is. This is what the proposal is. And then if you want to dig, there's a wealth behind that to sort of back it up. And that's how I came to a little HTML interactive guide to present it, which I then send out to people. I'm now starting to get feedback.
You're giving me 2 ideas. So I'm at 10 slides per, and that includes the cover slide and the thank you slide. So it's actually 8 slides. But now I'm wondering if I can take what I have, because it's built in HTML, as you said, which is an easier output than PowerPoint, and I can create dynamic websites based on that. Yeah. And you should be able to. I just have to think of what I want to create.
That's the hard thing. So, but I think that's part of the evolution process. And I think one of the things that, a nice cyclical conversation here, but one of the good things about AI is that it allows you to do this, build something, tear it down, improve it, build it up again, tear it down, and just keep this iterative process, which was before it's really expensive to do that. So we went into these quite thought out, laborious thinking processes before we built anything. And we try stuff like Agile where we'll figure it out as we go. But I actually quite like this much more rapid approach of just get something up there, stick it in front of people and rip it apart, and then build and build and build. And you can do it so fast now because you're building on repeatable process, repeatable agents. So.
No, it's going back to what we've talked about before. It's like when the cost of producing something goes to zero, the judgment of selection is really what becomes the actual unit of sort of value.
The music's a great example of that. I sent you 1 track. Do you know how many I had to go through to get to that 1 track, which I'll be prepared to send to you? And it's just tweaking and tweaking and tweaking. That word doesn't work. That meter doesn't work. Oh, that interpretation, everything's perfect, but you just screwed it up when you did the generation, okay? And you just keep going and tweak.
Can you just say, can you generate the music on the fly?
Yeah.
Like, as opposed to having tracks that I guess would loop in the game. Could you just say?
Oh, I see what you mean. Procedurally.
Yes. Like this is the atmosphere I want to create. These are 5 different songs that are roughly 3 to 4 minutes each. figure out ways to merge these then dynamically produce
This is why I like the game, because the game is a fun thing for me to play around
with. Yes, tell us about the game here, because we've been talking about it.
Let me answer that first, because I think I think one of the things I sort of wonder is why you spend your time making a game, but actually what I take from the game is so big, it's so huge in terms of everything else. Just different approaches to things, structured approaches, different tools, and it all feeds into the day job and how I consult for my clients. And I think if you go back a month I was a pretty competent old school coder who was starting to engage with AI, and today I'm building a custom rendering engine. I'm like, there's just not even on the same planet. That ability to understand how to connect through to data sources, how to structure architecture, it all comes on this rapid learning curve. So the game is like a springboard into lots of different areas, and games join lots of dots together.
How has that helped you in what you do? Like in actually working with clients and delivering products?
Yeah, so most of what I do is guide teams. I do some, not so much actually building things anymore, although that's changing a bit. For example, I built myself a platform, an agentic generative platform to build stuff. And off the learnings from that, I've built a similar one in work to then go and build prototypes for the go-to-market strategy that I was talking about. I also have, through doing a lot of API connections and test monitoring as I go, I've managed to take that and help teams actually set up full API testing suites without actually having access to code bases, which is the worst way to develop when you're having to do it through somebody else, through a Teams channel. To actually build API test suites is really hard, but it's the same processes and it's the same safety nets that you can put in place. It's all, I use BMAD as an orchestration framework. So I use a framework to structure one agent after another and to check on each other and to have adversarial reviews along the way. That process was built up by doing little personal projects and a lot of it from the game. So I just take that straight over, that approach, not necessarily the same agents, but the approach into work where I have a different set of agents. So.
Do you find anybody else on the team is picking up from some of the work that you're doing?
Do you know, you see shining stars. I'm sure you see this as well. You'll find one or two people who are just embracing this and running with it. And everybody else is sort of standing on the sidelines thinking that they'd like to get involved, but they don't know how and they don't want to ask. And honestly, my advice to them, if you're one of those people who are listening, is just ask the AI. You might be embarrassed to ask a person the question. Just go and ask the AI, how do I get started? I don't understand that. Explain it to me like I'm a very slow 12-year-old. And that's what I do with most of my documentation these days. So.
This is so true. And I remember when we first got started with the group chat with you, myself, and Ryan, I was like, well, how are you doing this? And how are you doing that? And I kept asking both of you. And finally, both of you were like, good God, just go ask Claude how to do it and we'll tell you step by step. And for some reason, I had never thought of that. I hadn't thought of like, let me just go ask the tool itself. And since then, I'm like, what would you suggest here? How can I make this better? Right. And
do you know, the other thing I see is that everybody sees AI and the potential of it. They'll see what people like you are doing with this quite advanced strategic thinking and how you're putting together outputs, which have got a lot of layers of complexity behind them. They see that, they want to engage with it, and they want to start running at 100 miles an hour and start, okay, I've just started opening Claude. Okay, show me how to do something. ChatGPT, I've been talking to you, but now I want to build something. I want to build something like Joe's built. I want to build an output like that. And it doesn't work, or they get crap out of it and they fall over and get frustrated. And I think people need to understand it's not, I just type a few words in, like vibe coding, hit the button and out comes amazing output. This is little step after little step after little step, building and building. You said you're on version 23?
22, I think.
You've gone through 22 iterations of tweaking and fiddling and frustration and changing it and reviewing it. Those steps are what get you to the powerful output. And it's not trying to do it all in one go, because you'll never get there. The good thing is the first step is a lot less painful than it was when you're having to learn with books and without even the internet even.
I can't remember who sent me this, but I don't mean this as like taking a hard right turn on the topic, but I thought this was really interesting. You're bringing up something that I really like. Okay, let me see if I can remember this. Somebody sent me a clip of a podcast, and I can't remember what it was, if it was a Dr. K podcast thing, but it was the discussion that goals are not evil, just goals are bad for people. And I had a very visceral reaction because I run my life based on goals, right? I have goals for the year. I have goals for the time I'm 50, and everything cascades and ladders up and connects to each other. And that even goes down to how I run my life on a day-by-day basis. It's all of it. is in service of these larger goals. And then I have goals, but for the time I'm 65, 60, all of this. So when I heard this, I was like, well, I don't agree at all. But it brought up something really good, which is what you just said. The person was like, well, when do you achieve a goal, right? Is that people generally tend to think of it as like a binary situation. And the problem is going through the steps to achieve that goal are often routine, mundane.
Yeah.
And people don't want to just put in the time or look stupid, as you just said, right? Like, and we talked about this months ago, that me starting Muay Thai, it was like the biggest thing I had to get over was looking stupid. And I still look stupid, but I look less stupid, right? But it's been now 9 months of doing it 3, 4, 5 times a week. And the whole thing with the podcast was just that you have to, whether you want to say embrace the journey or embrace looking stupid or embrace this idea that you're a beginner at some point. And I remember this, and I forget, I was in my 20s and I'd been playing guitar for about 10 years. One of my friends was like, I want to play guitar. I'm like, well, why don't you? He's like, well, I'm already in my mid 20s. I'm not going to be as good as, like somebody who's in a rock band doing. I'm like, but don't you just want to learn? It's like, it's too hard. Right. And like, how much does that stop people from just trying things?
I'll tell you what stops me. I remember when I was playing at 16, I was playing till my fingers bled. I'm like, I'm not going through that again. Building a castle, that's what puts me off doing guitar again.
Let me finish up this way, and then I'll hand it over to you. The whole idea of going through the journey, to me, ties back to all the sort of comical or farcical stuff you see where it's like every CEO in 2026, and it's, the person saying AI, or every keynote, agentic, agents, right? Orchestration, all of these things. And yes, there is a level of comedy about that, of like how much people are leaning into it, despite maybe sometimes not really knowing where it's going to go. But now that I have the opportunity to run an organization, and now that I'm in a position to actually affect like the bottom line revenue of a company, I really see the positive aspects of saying, we just have to push forward.
Yeah.
Because the opposite, the idea of just, well, no, that's not right. You're condemning yourself to death because you are not moving. Everybody else is moving. And even if they're not moving in the right direction, what you said a few minutes ago, you are learning things that are helping you eventually make better decisions. So you can make fun of me or you or anybody else for all the AI stuff that we do, but inevitably, even the wrong decisions are going to serve us in the right way at some point, at some time.
100%. And it might be 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but it's still 2 steps forward. And I think that's what people need to remember. And people need to remember as well, it's not easy. I think there was the whole thing about vibe coding. Vibe coding is an amazing thing. I think I said last time, I watched my wife build an app. She's built 2 now, to actually help her do something that she wants to do. And they're great. They're really functional. They do exactly what she wants. They work brilliantly. Are they necessarily the way you're going to build big, complex software? No. Do they need to be? No. And I think that's the thing, is you engage with the level you want. If you've got an idea for an app, just go and vibe code it. If you want to build something complex and scalable, then use AI to help you. It's a crutch, it's a tool, it's a springboard. It's not going to solve all your problems, but it will help you solve your problems a lot faster.
If you get into something like that, I think the other positive thing, just learning how to break things down into steps that can create something, and going through that thinking. Right? One of the things that I remember learning early on in learning computer science was, how do you break down something into the basic building blocks? And I don't think that's ever going to serve you wrong, right? Because as you learn more of that, if I want to now go out and create something physical, okay, well, what are the building blocks I need for that? If I want to, as we said, make a goal, okay, what are the blocks of that? If I want to start writing, what are the blocks of that? I think there's a lot of good lessons you get out of learning how to code or vibe code or these things. And there was something that I remember reading. It was about a week ago. I remember where I was when I was listening to this or listening to the audiobook. I don't remember what the audiobook was, but it was the idea that everybody's like, oh, vibe coding, prompting, right? The next computer software language, what is it? Computer programming language is going to be just English or human.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say English because obviously you're going to have different languages.
But it probably is. It probably is with the amount of training material out there.
Yeah.
It probably is.
But even, I think that, how do I want to say this? Even that, I don't think gives credit to the fact that people think because you can speak in natural language sentences that you're automatically going to be able to vibe code anything, but that's not the case. You need to understand the steps and how to break something down. And even if computer science or computer programming is now just English, it is still understanding how to break something down in a way that you can build with that. You can't just speak. You have to speak in a certain way. And everything from assembly to C to C++ to Java to C# to Python, everything has been getting more natural language as we go, right? So this is just another step, but you still have to understand the basics of how to break things down.
It's very interesting.
Sorry, it took me a while to get there. I was trying to figure out how to frame that. But yeah, it was like, that's still important.
Yeah, and language as a programming language is a really good observation. I think the fact is that we program every day when we talk to people. We have a programming language that we understand and we are naturally gifted with, because that's our speech patterns. We understand the inputs, we understand the outputs. It's essentially programming, communicating data in different forms. We've just got more inputs when we talk face to face because we've got observation and we've got surrounding context. So we have these tools, we just need to translate them into different media.
You just broke my head on something. So what you just said, like, I never thought of English or, again, whatever spoken language you use as a programming language. And yet I'm the one who's reading all the books around like negotiation and coaching. And what's the Dale Carnegie one? How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I was talking to somebody about these books, a coworker, and she wrote back and about Never Split the Difference for negotiation. And she's like, I wonder if you've ever used these techniques on me. And I'm like, I use these techniques every single day. You best believe I have used it on you. And it was just funny when you said that. Yeah, all of these books that we read in terms of how we communicate with people in order to get something we want is in essence a programming language, but we just don't think of it going back and forth in that way.
I think the other thing that comes from using AI that I found is that you become natural at switching languages. So there was a time many years ago that I did know syntactically several languages in depth because that was all I did all day was programming these languages, quite light languages. I was never hugely into Java, but JavaScript I used to know very well. I don't know any syntax anymore. Syntax I'd really struggled. If you sat me down with a piece of paper and they said, write a Python script, I'd really struggle. I'd probably really struggle to write JavaScript these days, but the syntax doesn't matter. The structure matters, the way of thinking, the way you order and approach things, that's what matters, the way you problem solve. I'm writing, like I say, it's still, I don't say this to brag, I say this because it blows me away. I am writing a custom rendering engine in C++ at the moment. I've never written anything in C++ and it works and it's really good. And it's not just a vibe coded, make me a rendering engine, Claude, go and do it for me. It's taken 2 weeks of every day working hours and hours to do this in a very structured way. And I'm about 20% of the way through it, but it's working. And I think that is just so empowering and so exhilarating that you can do these things now as long as you've got the idea and the tenacity.
What gives you the drive to make this, right? Why does it matter to you?
They're mainly dopamine chasing, if I'm honest. It's all problem solving. So I like solving one problem after another. So everything gives you a little bit of dopamine. That's the honest answer. The slightly less, I don't know what the word is, but the answer I tell myself is because I'm passionate about building things. I've always liked building things. I like storytelling. I like building things. That's why I storytell at work when we're building propositions for how we take a client to a new place, how we're building teams to deliver products. But the reality is all these things allow us to pull on different skill sets and solve problems. And I like solving problems.
Yeah, I was thinking that's why. Well, that's partly why I do it. I think the other thing that I've said is I want to make myself obsolete before somebody else does.
Yeah, that's really smart.
And I think if I make myself obsolete, then my next question is, well, what's next? And that's what gets really exciting. Like if I really think that, okay, what I was paid for is to come up with these really unique provocations or to help manage a team and delivery. If I can now automate that in some way, what can I do now? There's got to be something more. There's got to be something more interesting. Let's take a hard right turn now.
Let's do that.
And there was something we brought up last week that I really, really liked. A couple things, actually. I was watching the podcast from last week because I had to go through and sort of clip it for LinkedIn clips. And there was some really interesting stuff there. And the two things I thought was really cool, three things, I don't even know. One was the agent-to-agent e-commerce aspect.
Yeah.
The other one was what do factories or buildings or whatever physical element we build that is only run by agents, like a dark factory, look like if it doesn't need to be inhabited by humans? And then the last thing, and this was the one that I wanted to sort of talk about more, was the programmable money side. And I'll tell you why. In preparing this week for our planning, a lot of the clients are FS or financial services. So it's banking. And I've been asking my V22 prompt now to look at retail banking and then tell me where that goes. And it's using these custom skills that I've written. So it's looking at different AI paths. And it started talking to me about how do you create, I don't want to say agentic clusters. I don't want like a portfolio of agents that essentially run your bank account for you, order things for you. They have their own accounts that they can go and do things for you, and you just get the receipts. We talked about it last week, where this idea that something just shows up on your doorstep, and if you take it in the house, then you bought it. And I thought this was a natural extension of that, right? So this morning I went to the grocery store and I probably spent 100 dirhams extra because I was walking the aisles and I was hungry and there was some new stuff that they had that I wanted to get.
But is that a bad thing? You don't care about 100 dirhams?
I sort of do. If I do it every day, then it's like I could have saved
my
that money.
Starbucks order.
But I was thinking to myself, wouldn't it just be better if I eat mostly the same thing every day? Why isn't it just ordered for me? It shows up on my doorstep. You know, agents are doing that. It has an automatic
there's a value
bank
choice
account.
in there. What do you want to spend your time doing? Do you want to spend your time shopping? And some people do. There's a consumer entertainment side of things.
Interesting. Yeah, I'd been thinking I've been going on this monologue just thinking, how do I automate things out of my life? And you brought up a great point, which had oddly not crossed my mind, which is where does value lay for people? So take it away on that.
Well, I think some people like shopping. I mean, if you told me that you could automate your weekly food order, I probably would say yes, because I order the same things each time, but I might not because I would.
I would be like, get that out of my way.
But that's the most mundane thing I can think of. But if it's like shoes, for example, I probably wouldn't automate that. I'll choose my own shoes, thanks. My clothes, I'll choose my own clothes, thanks.
No, I would automate all of that. If I could do that in a reliable way.
Guitars. Would you automate guitar buying?
Yes, because I only play a certain type of guitar. And if you look at my history of guitars, you're going to figure it out. Okay. So yes, you can figure it out.
You're a useless model for me then. But some people like buying things as entertainment is where I'm going for this. This consuming as entertainment is a very real thing. And I am probably a little bit further down the spectrum than you are by some accounts, but I'm not that far down. But there's people who really are, who will go shopping for fun. They'll go to the mall to shop or even just to look. And I think there's understanding what do people want to spend their time doing and providing the tools for that. So your agentic bank account management side of things, it's definitely got an audience, but I think it might need to be malleable depending on the person.
I'm just thinking of like, if I make my agentic bank account and I have programmable money, so my agents can only spend money of a certain amount on certain things, it really puts up guardrails for them. Yeah. Which I think is a really cool way of starting to manage your life. At least for me, I am the type of person that I like the outfit I'm wearing now. If I could just have 10 of these and I knew they weren't going to go out of style, Yeah, bring it on, right? I'd be very happy with that. So I do understand I'm maybe not a super target audience. But
it's a decision, isn't it? You choose where you want to spend your time. And I think it's the things that you don't want to spend your time on. This is the age where you can get somebody else to do it for you. Whereas 100 years ago, you could have probably hired some staff to do that for you. And depending on where you lived in the world, it's quite cheap to do that. Now, because we've hopefully got a slightly more averaged out economy and income balance a little bit, we don't do that so much. But you could do it with agents. Agents are your new tools.
If people who are listening to this can't see me laughing, but I was cracking up about something because what you were just saying, I was listening to like a podcast comedy thing this morning, and I think it was Tom Segura who was talking about like commercials in the US and how there seem to be a rash of commercials now that are all about beds that just help you sit up. And it's like,
that's terrible.
Do you realize now that we don't have to leave our beds? Like,
or use our stomach muscles, apparently.
Yeah, well, and he was like, I've been laying down for 8 hours. And the first thing is like, no, I can't get up. I need the bed to help me like sit up. And it was just great because he's like, yeah, you don't even have to get out of your bed to do anything now.
No.
Like, I'm hungry. Great. I'm going to order stuff to my doorstep.
That's
I need a hammer to fix
film.
something. I'm going to order that hammer from Amazon. I'm going to get the people from TaskRabbit. Right. And he's like, at what point do you need to leave your bed? But it was a comedy bit, but it was also like, how dangerous is this becoming? And I know I'm extremely active because, again, I have my goals, which I think are like an obligation to me. But if I didn't have that, man, it would be really easy to just never leave my house. And now we're going back down the dystopian route. I don't know if that's good or bad because you said, shopping for, like, some people like, well, shopping for entertainment. That's what you said. And I get it. It also makes me angry because I feel like that's what keeps people in debt so much is like, go shopping for entertainment. Oh, you see this thing? Oh, you like it? You didn't need it, but now you're going to buy it.
Completely.
Right? It's like, but how void of, I don't know if it's connection and I'm getting frustrated at this, but it's like, how void are we of the idea that sitting down in a park and having a few beers with friends is such a bad idea and going shopping for entertainment. And what I said just sums up all of Dubai, right? The idea of like sitting in a park with your friends, having a beer. I can't picture one place in Dubai that I can do that for free.
Well, it's 40 degrees now.
Well, yeah, now you're not going to do it. But I can picture shopping for entertainment.
Because people are now starting to engage more with AI as friends and companions. So actually you just take the humans out of it completely and say, well, I don't want to leave my house. Why do I need to? I don't want to talk to my friends. My friend lives on my computer. What do I need a social interaction for? And it's becoming a very real thing. I think we need to make active choices about what we spend our time doing. And that includes, as you say, our commitments to ourselves, even if they're not goals that we're trying to achieve, but the pillars in our lives that we want to protect. So health is one, social engagement's another. And my gym habit has fallen off the wagon at the moment, so I need to get back on it.
I know it's fallen off the wagon for months. You used to send me every day an update on your workout and what you were doing. And somehow, seemingly when you started discovering AI,
I know.
This is now gone by the wayside.
It's not a coincidence. But I've also just finished a physio session, which was fixing some elbow tendons. So I've got no excuse now. I just get back on it. That was literally yesterday. So,
well, okay, what did you call that? Because I'm actually writing this down in my notebook. Pillars of, what did you say?
I have to listen to it back, but it was sort of pillars of your goals, your strategy. Your
it was like what you care about.
Yeah.
Right. Something like that. And I love that because I wanted to write that down and just ask myself that when I got home, like, what are the things I really care about? And am I using technology to protect that?
It's different for different people as well. It's some of this is stuff is occurring to me as we're talking, but what's really important to me is generally, like I say, it's building stuff and solving problems. It's not so much social engagement, but I know that's huge for other people. Gym is in there when I stop being lazy. But it's like, well, these things are very peculiar to every individual, and there's no right or wrong with it. Some things will make you live longer than others, but there's no right or wrong about what are your pillars. I think you just have to make an active choice around it. And what I liked about what you were saying with the using agentic groups or agentic orchestration to manage your finances, to manage your shopping, was that you're taking several steps back from that decision-making process and not buying that chocolate bar because you're walking through the supermarket and it's put in front of you and, oh, you haven't eaten yet and that's there and it tastes good and I can just buy it. You're taking that step back to make a strategic decision around, this is what I want to achieve. Now go and make these things happen while I focus on the higher level strategy. And I think that's very smart. There's no joy in it, but it's very smart.
Well, I'm following some of the programmable money, sort of, what does that play out? And I think that I have my programmable money now and my agents in my wallet, which in this case, wallet will be like something that lives in the browser. So I like
the fact that you're programming it rather than what we were talking about last week.
Well, yeah,
that's very different.
Yes, correct. Not the government programming it, but I am not sentience, Jesus. I'm giving it sort of the wherewithal of what you can spend it on. Yeah, guardrails. But now when I go to Amazon, I see, okay, what amount of money do I have to spend versus if maybe I go to a grocery shopping website, I'm going to see a different amount of money I have to spend. Yeah. So it's like what's in my wallet starts to fluctuate based on what I am doing. So it's a dynamic wallet in that way, which is somewhat of an interesting concept. Could be confusing. I guess for some people it could be nice. But just this idea that there is a portability of my finances and there is a context to my finances based on what I'm doing at any one time. And then, of course, you get into this dystopian side where I walk up to the physical store and it has digital, placards or signs on it that are now adjusting based on the money I have in my wallet that it knows because it has NFC and it's adjusting its prices real time. Like, oh, this was $3 or 12 dirham, and Joe only has 10 in his wallet. And we'll make it 9 dirham. That's okay. He'll spend it on that. Right? Like, ooh, how nefarious could that get? That it just says like, here's your starting price, here's your cost, see what the person has available, and we'll sort of negotiate based on that.
Yeah. Personal data is already the jewel in everybody's crown is getting hold of people's personal data so you can customize. And whereas we had those, I've said for a long time that Facebook and Google and whoever else might be listening into our conversations, but what can they do with that information? It's too much, it's too big, nobody really cares. No, they care very much, and they're using agents to go through and analyze everything and personalize everything at mass scale. If you suddenly allow that bridge into even more personal data, such as your financial habits, such as your personal goals, how deep do you let this go?
It's interesting because if you take something like OpenClaw, right, you can deploy that, you can set it up with a bank account.
Have you used it?
I haven't. I've been too afraid and I haven't bought a sandboxed computer. Yeah. But it's something I really want to. There's also a website, and I think this is called web4.ai. We talked about this lightly last week, but it's an agent like OpenClaw is, but it needs to make its own money.
Yeah, I heard of this. Yeah.
And I'm just thinking of all these things, and for me, there is just glass half full. Because I think to myself, oh man, what could I build with this? How could I better set up myself to achieve my goals or do something interesting? I am not witnessing or thinking about the downside, which is you flip that bit and all of a sudden somebody else has control over everything in your life. Not just that, if somebody else gets a hold of that data, what can they influence on you without you even knowing? And I still think that's such a powerful thing. Like, I want to say marketing doesn't work on me, but marketing works on me. Like, the whole reason you went back to guitars, right? The whole reason I play Les Pauls is because I started listening to Guns N' Roses and Slash, and that's all Slash played was Les Paul. So I had to play Les Pauls, and Slash endorses Les Paul. Why do I play Ernie Ball strings? Because Slash endorsed it. Why do I play Seymour Duncan pickups? Because Slash endorsed it. Even though it's 30 years later or whatever, right? I'm still like playing those things because that's what my hero endorsed. Yeah. Now, I listen to tons of other bands now, but I still have never switched that core, that core element of what I play and what I do. It's interesting.
But it's great that we can make these choices. I think the idea, it is a balance. It's a very nefarious, insidious thing where brands can reach in and engage us on an emotional level, but it's also quite a joyful thing to be able to make that connection to things that you enjoy and have a piece of them in your life and your life change in a positive way as a result. So I don't think it's necessarily always a bad thing. I think there's a lot we can draw from it that's good and positive. It's just up to us how we choose it.
I'm actually writing this down now in my notebook. That was a little bit sad what I just said. I was like, there's been so many changes and so many advancements in guitars. There's so many more companies that are producing guitars. And I have really not tried out anything. So I just took a note in my notebook to go to a guitar store in Dubai that I know. And I'm like, I should play some other guitars.
It's worse than that, isn't it? Because don't Les Paul bring out the same guitar every year. They don't change anything. It's literally the same guitar.
No, it's like Rolex, right? It's like, it is the same exact guitar. And it might be like, do you like the 59, 60, 58 neck? To me, it's not all the same neck, but damn, they feel pretty similar.
Okay.
And when I sit down and I play, every once in a while, I will play a different guitar. I'll play like a Jackson.
Okay.
And I will realize, okay, I struggle to play it because the neck is so different. And it's been 30 years of me playing one style of neck. And then you put me on a completely different neck and I can't play it. And it's so weird. And I mean, even saying it now, I'm like, how can I not switch instruments like that? But I guess that's something I'm taking back now with myself, that when you said that, I seem to have dug myself into a repetitive route that maybe is not benefiting me because there could be so much more I could explore. But this goes back to the AI discussion of how easy it is to fall into the trap of just what I know is the right thing to do and what I know is not complacency, but it's easy. And that idea that as an organizational leader, glass half full, I may not know exactly where I'm going, but let me go out there. I wonder why I don't apply those same rules to other elements of my life. Like in work, I'm just going out with all the AI stuff and saying, just let me try everything new. Right? But when it comes to food or when it comes to music, I fall back and I default to the same exact things. When I walk in the morning, I take the same walking path. But I guess it goes back to the other thing that I wrote in my notebook, which is that like the pillars of what I care about, right? Where am I going to spend my brain power exploring? And right now, all that brain power is going towards technology and clients and what we can do to build. And it's definitely not going towards what I'm wearing or what I'm cooking or how, what route I'm walking on. So choose what you want to explore, I guess. Choose your own adventure.
Yeah. So the things that I found important to me are, and let me touch on what you just said actually first. I think it's a balance. I think you probably have an appetite for how much change you want to embrace at any one point in time, and that balance shifts for you towards more work-oriented, more technology-oriented stuff. So you keep the things protected where you don't have to embrace those, and those are the things you lock in for convenience, for sort of peace of mind, for comfort, and those things become stable and give you the foundation on which you can do the rest. One of the things I've found I'm deliberately doing now is pushing into areas that I don't have comfort. Music's one of them. I used to do a lot of music when I was in my 20s, play a few instruments, but none of them very well. But I stopped for a long time. So going back into music now for the game stuff is interesting for me, but it's not something I feel very comfortable with. I don't have the structure behind it. I'm having to learn it all. But I had a choice of saying, well, are you going to neglect it or are you going to do a half-assed job on it? And given that every other part of what I'm doing, I'm trying to break the mold on things where I'm like, well, I can't do anything less there. I've got to try and do something similar there as well. So it gives you that impetus, that desire to hit the same level of standards, hit the same level of innovation everywhere because you've got the confidence of doing it in one area. You know you can do it in another. You might not know how yet, but you know you can find that path because you've got this big crutch to help you. That's one thing. And I think the other thing is actually deliberately going out there to break the mold. What's the point in doing something that someone else has done before? A lot of what I'm doing at the moment, like building a rendering engine, is because I can't do what I want to do with what exists at the moment. So I'll have to build it myself. And I could have taken a very easy answer with the game of taking something like Unreal or Unity and saying, I'm going to build on that engine. I'll just put models in there. I'll take meshes and put it into there. It would be so much easier to do that. I can't do that. Not in this age. I can't do that. So you pick the hard paths and you find your way through them, and hopefully you get something meaningful at the end of it.
I think this podcast has been more of a psychology session for me. It really has, because I'm writing things down as we go. And when you were talking about your sort of exploration just now, I was thinking to myself, why do I do things on repeat? Why do I wake up every morning and take the same walking route? Right? Like there's lots of different places I could walk. And I wrote something down, which I thought was nice and sort of sad at the same time, which is when I repeat things, I know I won't fail.
Oh, that's awful.
And when I do new things,
I
might fail. Right? But that, like, maybe that's a good way, since we're running out of time, to encapsulate so much of what we're doing and why AI tools or anything new, it doesn't have to be AI, why anything new is so scary, because especially as an adult, I don't want to look like a fool. I don't want to look like an idiot. If I do things on repeat, I know I won't, because I know what I'm doing and I know the outcome, and it's predictable, but it's success. It is just limited success. And if I take a risk, if I do something different, my chances of failure are in general much higher, because repeating something means roughly 100% chance of success because I'm just repeating it, right? And if I do something different, even if I have 50-50 success, that's 50% failure. That feels horrible. But the upside is I have learned something new and I've taken a chance. And I think that gives you so much more of an interesting life. And now I'm sitting here reflecting on myself like, man, I really do need to change some things or do something different or do something unique, because I think that's I don't know if that's what gives me life. I do things on repeat.
That's really inspiring.
But yeah, that's an interesting last thought. But take us home.
The point is, you don't stop at the failure. Everybody fails. Everything you do, there's a very good chance you're going to hit failure. The point is that you keep going beyond the failure.
Well, failure is only if you stop.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And I'll say, I can't tell you how many times I've sat there. This is terrible. How many times I've sat there at 2 a.m. asking Claude, am I kidding myself here? Am I just deluded in what I'm trying to do, that I can't do this because I'm trying to do things that I've never done before? I'm not just trying to do them for the first time. I'm trying to break what other very good people have spent decades learning. I'm trying to move beyond that. Am I kidding myself on what I'm doing? It usually ends up with it telling me that it's going to take me 10 years of what I'm trying to do, and I tell it to fuck off, that I'm going to do it in 1 year, and we'll see where we get to. But I think that assurance and that self-doubt is natural. That expectation of failure is natural and it's real. And the point is that you will fail and you're going to pick yourself up and just keep going. And that's, I think, where the glory is.
I'm reading all these books right now about NVIDIA, OpenAI, all these companies, and how people question, when startup founders fail, why do people continue to invest in their next thing? It's like, because they're the ones who are going out and choosing to do something different. And that's the only way that you're going to create new markets or be interesting at all. Doing the same thing that everybody else is doing is never going to get you there. So like, you can make fun of WeWork and Adam Newman, and there's a lot to make fun of, but at the same time, the guy sort of changed the entire co-working space industry, which is somewhat insane, right? You could make fun of Travis Kalanick and Uber, except they changed the entire like ride hailing and food delivery, right? Like, why would you bet on them again, even if they lost money? It's because they did something that only a handful of people in the world can say that they've done. And so if I'm going to bet on somebody, well, I'm going to bet on somebody that's at least going to take those big sort of big ticket items or big risks.
Love it. That's a great way to call it.
Dunbar, it's been good. Next week, we're back with Robert.
Yeah, look forward to it.
Talk to you soon.